I'm starting today's video at War Memorial located at Yongsan. It's actually located on the southeastern side of Namsan, and that's the Namsan Tower that you see there. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes walk from here to Namsan, and from there it'll take about 30 to 40 minutes up to Namsan Tower, I think. The reason why I'm starting on the southeastern side of Namsan is because this area has a very deep historical background of Korea, and it's also hip and hot these days among the young Koreans. So I can tell you a lot more about Korea and Seoul and Seoul's culture. So I thought it was a really good place to start our video. Let's take a look around Yongsan and go to the southeastern side of Namsan. The museum and the area I'll be taking you to today is located in a district called Yongsan. Literal translation of Yongsan would be Dragon Mountain. The area was named Yongsan during the Joseon dynasty because the current of the Han River in the area combined with the mountain in the area looked like a dragon's head. The section of Yongsan district which I'll be taking you to today is very closely related to Korea's modern history. The area is visited by a lot of young Koreans and foreigners that live in Korea, and the area has become hip and hot with vibes similar to that of Soho area in New York now. But I'll show you more of that in the later part of the video. I really have to tell you more about the area before that. There's a huge US military base located in Yongsan, in the center of Seoul. The US military was stationed in the Korean peninsula after the Korean War, and the Ministry of National Defense buildings are also located in the area. All Korean men are obliged to do military service in Korea, usually in their 20s, and I actually did my military service in this area, in the US military base. I wasn't a Katusa, which stands for Korean Augmentation to the United States Army. In Korea, doing the military service as a Katusa immediately brings up an image of having an easy military service years because they are relatively free in their everyday lives. But I was a linguist in the Korean Army and was assigned or designated to CFC, the Combined Forces Command, which is the highest military unit in Korea. And I did my military service in Yongsan because CFC is located within the US military base in Yongsan. Anyways, the area that I'll be taking you to today is located right next to the barracks which I spent about 2 years in. I spent 2 years literally right behind these walls in this section of the US military base. The area is named Haebangchon. Haebangchon, when translated to English, means Liberation Town. The area was named Haebangchon because refugees from the northern part of the Korean peninsula started to settle in the area. This section of Namsan was outside the city wall in Hansong, which was built in the Joseon dynasty, which I showed you on our previous videos multiple times. Check out our videos on the links on the top right hand corner if you want to know more about the city walls. This area was a shanty town back then, a town with houses built with boards. This is probably because nobody lived in the area back then, and because the refugees didn't have any relatives or any basis for living. They started gathering around in the area. For them, the people closest to their relatives were probably other refugees, and that's probably why they settled here as a group. You can see the history of the area being a shanty town from the way the houses are built in the area and how steep the streets in the area are. I don't know if you see how steep this place is, but it's really steep. I really shouldn't have worn my flip-flops. It's very steep. I'm going to the Haebanggye, the Haebang Church, which is a historical land site here. But as you have seen, there are a lot of exotic kind of non-Korean kind of places here. Somewhat like Soho area in New York. But it's a lot steeper than Soho, definitely. But as I told you in the beginning of the video, for young Koreans, the area is more famous for being hip and hot. I think this has to do with the retro, or the new retro, or neutral as they call it here in Korea, sweeping the Korean culture these days. Yes, the area is very old and uncomfortable, and the streets are narrow, but for the young Koreans who grew up in the pre-planned, well-organized, and very much developed areas, vibes from these kind of environment is new and unique. The small and cozy drinking and eating places in the area, combined with the American culture that influenced the area with the existence of the huge US military base in the area, created a very, very, very unique vibe that you can't find anywhere else in Seoul. The areas are visited by people from all around the world, and you'll easily hear English, French, African languages on the streets. It's sort of like the vibe that you would feel in Itaewon, which by the way I'll introduce in about 2 weeks, but different because of what existed in the area. The old houses built in the landscapes according to the way shantytown was built right here after the Korean War. However, there are remains of the old Haebangchon's history in the area. The Haebanggyoe, or Liberation Church, still stands on the highest part of the hill, and the history of the church is engraved around the area. The 108 stairs located on the other lower side of the hill shows the history of the Japanese annexation. The stairs were built as a part of the Japanese shrine that used to stand on Namsan. You don't have to walk up the stairs because elevator was built in 2018, so you might as well try taking the elevator up to the area. The elevator itself has a very unique vibe. It's gotten pretty late today. I was going to show you some of the drinking places because Yongsan and the Gyeongnidankil area and the Haebangchon is famous for hot places, and it's really famous for craft beers because one of the first places where they sold craft beers that were made not by huge companies but by small stores. They first opened up around Gyeongnidankil and Haebangchon. So I was going to show you around those places. I sort of got lost in the middle while walking in Haebangchon. Haebangchon has a lot of really, really narrow streets. It's easy for you to get lost, so be careful about that. Have plenty of time before you come to Haebangchon. Be ready to get lost, but it has a really cool vibe and a good combination of old and the new. So I really recommend that you come here, and on the next video, I'll show you some of the really hip places and some more history about the reason why the places have gotten really, really hip and hot, and why the young people are flowing into the area.